some companies are very prone to using shortcuts that does therefore increase risk and human errors and so on. So how are companies expected to follow their respective safety plans if there is a financial incentive not to?
So I'll take a shot at that. We've seen a significant transition away from conventional contracts and more towards performance contracts. And what we've seen actually flies in the face of the question. We haven't seen increased risk. We haven't seen shortcuts. What we have seen is it requires more thorough planning, better communication, and through that, you're going to get better execution. I think it's the Navy SEALs that say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. We understand we're not going to hit the ground running immediately. It takes some time to coach people up, to get familiar with the processes. But part of that has got to be, we're calibrated on our risk tolerances. We understand where we're at. Once we begin to approach that risk tolerance, we're not going to exceed it. We're going to call home, talk to the superintendent, and make the best decision on the plan forward. That's not to say we can eliminate all shortcuts, but I think from a strategic standpoint and even execution on the rigs, we continue to drive home. We have the processes, execute the process. We're going to be the most efficient that we can, and safe, coincidentally.
So risk tolerance, would you say it is mostly subjective? How can you make it more objective?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think from our perspective, risk tolerance starts at the top. The CEO of the company is going to determine what the risk tolerance is. And as you work down the hierarchy, you can expect that risk tolerance to grow. So from the CEO to the floor hand, the floor hand's got a higher risk tolerance than the CEO does. What we've done is try to communicate the risk tolerance very clearly to everyone throughout the organization, establish what the guidelines are, so that if we're approaching that risk tolerance, everybody's empowered to stop the job, recognize the exposure, and let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I might add that a shortcut is not a measure of efficiency. A shortcut leads to problems. Problems lead to disasters, fatalities, injuries, and basically put our natural resources at risk. They put an environment at risk, so forth and so on. I think that as what we're seeing and what I've seen in the last, say, 15, 20 years, as an industry, we've become better at not what the old term used to be, ram and cram. We've got into, we've developed our industry, or our industry has evolved into let's plan the work and let's work the plan. And I think that's a very important aspect, because inevitably, and what we see in a lot of cases is when we have to go to location and have to work on a bad situation, somebody has taken a shortcut. Somebody has not provided the correct supervision or the correct surveillance. And in some cases, they don't even know what they're looking at. And that's just a measure of having crews properly trained. That's workover crews, coiled tubing crews, snubbing crews, production crews, and the like. So it all gets back to training and experience, and basically, and being patient and working efficiently, not taking shortcuts.
And I would also add to that, I think as an industry, you're right. I mean, the culture is shifting. I mentioned earlier, this shift in mindset that safety is not a proprietary thing. I think it's because the industry recognizes if one company falls, the whole industry falls. You talk about financial, stake, but the worst thing that could happen is a fatality. I mean, financially for a company, that's bad, and it's bad for the entire industry. And I think, companies are recognizing that, so they're helping and pushing, all companies to do good.
Related